Hey guys, it's Girl Got Game. Welcome back to England Exchange, where we are going to do Mark's route as Flynn, and we're going to see if we have anything new with Marky Moo, which I'm excited about because I loved Mark as Malia, so I'm hoping we get some new stuff with him. We are going to call our friends back home, so where we're starting, because we are going to romance a guy for Jinsu's sake. Nah, it's because we like Mark. But I don't think we've picked this option with Jinsu yet, so I'll say not yet.
I've barely been here 24 hours.
Alright, well that was that. Oh, and speaking of Mark, there he is. Let's begin.
After a hard day's work, finally it was dinner time. The hostel had a dining area where everybody could eat next to the kitchen. People could order in or could gather together to eat a group meal. With that in mind, I crept into the kitchen hoping to find something simple I could make. When I entered, I discovered Angelo, Peggy, and Ashley were sitting around the larger table, each taking something from a platter of vegetables and noodles. Another guy I hadn't met before was also there. That must be Mark, the one Danny said was cute.
I really hope you like it. I worked hard on it.
It's free food. I'll definitely like it. You'd make a good wife, Ashley.
You think so?
Ashley flushed as Angelo laughed heartily.
You belong in the Stone Age, Angelo.
What? It was a compliment. She's not mad about it.
That's beside the point.
And that set them both off, shouting insults back and forth. Mark, sitting nearby, watched with wide eyes. I tried to figure out a way to casually approach and join the group, but I wasn't sure what to do. It'd probably look bad if I just walked up and asked to eat some of their food, especially since I didn't help make it. Maybe it would be better to come back later and take a peek in the fridge. I started out of the kitchen, but before I could make it out the door, I locked eyes with Ashley.
Oh, Flynn! Are you hungry? I made stir-fry if you want some. I'm sure there's plenty for all of us.
Really? Are you okay with that?
Of course!
Despite Ashley's assurances, I glanced at the others. Peggy and Angelo were still at each other's throats, but Mark offered me a smile and gestured to the seat next to him. I sat down nervously. Thank you. It looks really good. Ashley got a plate for me and spooned food onto it, while Mark got me a glass of water.
Just can't comprehend that your way of life is totally...
Maybe if you calmed down a little, it wouldn't be so...
Don't mind them. They've been at it all day.
Really?
Yeah. It's a bit rough, but I'm sure they both mean well.
It's interesting to see people with such dynamic opinions. And you guys aren't going to stop them?
I don't want to get involved. I don't like to fight with anyone.
I glanced at Mark, who shrugged. Everything ends one way or another. I mean, these kinds of things are interesting to discuss, but as long as it's not directly affecting me, it doesn't have any meaning. What? What did that mean? There was an odd tension in the air. A few seconds later, I realized Peggy had stopped arguing with Angelo and was instead staring at Mark.
How can you say that you don't care about anything that doesn't affect you personally? Does that mean if you saw someone in pain, you wouldn't do anything to help them because it wasn't you who was hurting?
Oh? No, that's not what I meant. I just meant that if how someone else is behaving isn't causing direct harm, or if it's just a theoretical concept that isn't harming anyone in practice that I can see, I won't bother with it.
But theoretical concepts can harm people.
I suppose.
Well?
Mark seemed to consider Peggy's point for a few moments, then shrugged. I can't really be bothered.
Ugh!
Peggy stood and grabbed her half-full plate.
I can't stand people like you!
She marched off in a huff. Angelo chuckled as he watched her go. Thanks for having my back, man. Angelo held out his hand for a high five. Mark looked at it with interest. Your palm is quite nice, but I wasn't doing it for you. It does seem pointless, don't you think? What? I mean, everyone dies. Life is short, so I don't think you should argue so much. It's a waste of time. Angelo grunted and went back to his food.
Well, Mark, since you're new here, how do you like it?
It is very nice. Everyone is very friendly.
Aw, that's sweet. Don't you think, Angelo?
Angelo grunted again. He didn't seem particularly interested in the conversation anymore.
Well, anyways, what brought you here, Mark?
Mark frowned. Exploration.
Oh, that's nice. Are you at uni, or did your family send you here?
I don't think that's important enough to spend time talking about. He tilted his head to the side and smiled. I don't like people prying into my past, if you don't mind. I set my fork down, surprised. Did Mark want everybody to hate him, or was he seriously just accidentally pissing everybody off? Ashley, her cheeks gone pale from nerves, anxiety, anger, nodded and picked up her plate.
I'm going to go clean up now. It was nice eating with you.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for your food and conversation. I hope we can do this again. Ashley shot him a puzzled glance. Angelo stood and handed his plate to Ashley, then lumbered out of the room. With nobody else left, Mark turned to me. Sir, what brings you here? He seemed almost cheerful, as if completely unaware of what he'd just done. Did you not notice what just happened there? What do you mean? You insulted everybody. I mean, you insulted everyone. What? I have not insulted anyone. You made everybody angry and uncomfortable. That's why they left. You were mean. Do you really not see it? But I am not insulting people. That is not what is happening. Mark frowned and shook his head. I am leaving, yes. Then he, like everybody else, took his plate and left. Well, that was a great dinner, wasn't it? I finished my food alone.
You tried, man. Don't worry. We'll fix things. Bye, Brendan. Bye, Brendan. Alright. And now an apology from Mark.
It was the first thing in the morning. I had barely woken up when I heard a soft knock on my door. I opened it and looked out to see Mark. Yes? What are you doing here? Hello. So... I wanted to apologize. Apologize? For what? The other night at dinner. After reflecting a bit on what you said, I realized that you were correct. I insulted everybody at the table, including you, and was rude about it. I didn't see the error of my own ways. I'm apologizing to everybody else as well, but I wanted to make sure you knew that I appreciated your words. I wasn't sure how to respond. To tell the truth, I was shocked. It was such a direct, simple, straightforward apology. I rarely ever received a straightforward apology, even in situations that deserved it, like a huge fight among friends or family. Now a total stranger was apologizing to me for remarks most people would simply have forgotten about. Well, thank you. It's no problem. But may I tell you something? I blinked at him, and after a moment's hesitation, he continued. I have been very confused. I don't think I can talk to people very well normally without them becoming angry. Since the other night, I've been noticing it in almost everybody I talk to. It was worse than I thought. It's been a bit of a problem because I think everyone's avoiding me now. People are not so sensitive in France as they are here. He laughed merrily, but I didn't see the joke. Was he French then? He didn't sound French to me. Maybe I was too used to parody French accents?
Well, I don't want to put on a charade and pretend to be something I'm not, or to respond less than honestly to them, but my genuine responses seem to arouse anger. It's a conundrum. What should I do about it?
I think this is what I did with Malia.
I think you're phrasing your opinions too bluntly. I'm pretty sure there are ways you could put what you want to say that don't seem quite so aggressive.
Ah, I see.
He tapped the tip of his chin with a slender finger.
It seems I'll have to give this more thought. Anyways, thank you for your help. You are a very kind person. I know, or, well, I've realized that I'm probably not the easiest person to deal with. Thank you for dealing with me.
He beamed at me and my heart felt oddly lighter.
You know, I'm usually by myself reading books in the library, up in the philosophy section. You should come visit me sometime.
He waved happily and skipped off down the hallway. Considering he was now aware that no one around here liked him, it was odd that he was so happy. Oh well, with that done, it was time to get on with my day.
Yay, we helped Mark. That's good. Okay, no, this is the tryouts. I will help with her petition, because we talked to Mark. Alright, there we go.
I found Mark first. I was surprised that Peggy didn't want to talk to him herself, but at the same time it made sense. He was a nice guy, but it was probably easy for him to come off as creepy, especially towards women.
Still don't see it.
In any case, it took only a few minutes of explaining the purpose of the petition, for Mark to point out every flaw in Peggy's plan, from funding to the disruption that construction would cause to the fact that the university already had a carbon-neutral goal statement.
Regardless, I admire her spunk. I'll sign.
And Angela's not having any of it. Okay. Philosophy, he said.
I looked around the philosophy section and spotted Mark sitting at a table. He had a wide array of books spread in front of him, so for a moment I wondered if I should bother him. Then he looked up, saw me, and waved me over.
Flynn, it is good to see you.
Hi. I took a seat quickly and lowered my voice. It was a library, after all. So, you study philosophy?
All study is philosophy. The word means the love of wisdom.
But isn't philosophy one of those abstract concepts that you said wasn't important?
The belief that abstract concepts are less important than living concerns is itself a philosophy.
From there, the conversation got a bit convoluted. Still, Mark was never angry when I disagreed with him, or had to ask him to explain a term he was using. He was an interesting person to talk to. Weird, but interesting.
He's a good boy. I don't like this guy. Okay, we're gonna help Angie. Where are we now? Oh, Angela's cooking. I keep stopping the skip right as the thing starts. Hey, there we go.
I passed by Mark in the hall. He was singing softly to himself in a language I didn't understand. I glanced at him questioningly, and he laughed.
Ti takoi slavny.
Huh? But he just went into his room without explaining. That was definitely not French. What did he say? Who was Mark anyway? Well, I wasn't gonna get any answers today.
Take a guess, based on what he said and how it was pronounced. Oh, Flynn. Sorry, Ashley. Gonna make you drop some plates again. Bye, Aussie. Not doing that again. Oh. Okay, there we go.
I was sitting in the library working on an essay for my literature class about how Thomas Hardy's life experience affected the morals of his novels.
I almost said morals. I'm like, nope, I think it's morals.
I had been hard at work for some time when I suddenly heard a voice behind me.
That is wrong.
Excuse me?
You are misunderstanding the meaning of literary realism.
You're reading my essay over my shoulder?
Yes.
That's a bit creepy.
It is not private, is it? You will show it to your professor, your class.
And I might offer it to someone else to proofread or comment on, but that would be my choice. He hadn't asked.
I apologize if I upset you. I was passing by and saw that you were working. I did not wish to disturb you until I saw what you were writing.
Let him help.
I suppose you may as well read the whole thing, then. I handed over the paper and the assignment instructions. It couldn't hurt to get another viewpoint, right? Most of his comments turned out not to be relevant to my particular class, but they did make me think of a few things I could add on my own.
There you go, you got some help. Alright, Danny's playing soccer football. We will not be jealous of him or Peggy. We will not hug Peggy. That's just dangerous. Okay. The yard! We get to work with Mark in the yard this time.
While I was eating breakfast with Mark, Jihyo, and Aussie, James came in. You... the yard again? He closed his mouth and nodded. Bushes need trimming. By tonight or you're out. He left the room. We traded looks. There weren't a whole lot of bushes around the hostel, so it shouldn't be too large a job, but it was still February, still cold, and this still wouldn't be much fun. We went outside. Mark walked away and returned with 3 pairs of garden shears. He gave one to Jihyo and one to Aussie, then shrugged at me.
There were only 3.
With that, he went to the end of the walkway. Aussie humphed and went to the other, while Jihyo started by the front steps. Well, I couldn't just lead them to it, could I? Who should I help?
Mark.
Hey, can I help you with that? Mark glanced over his shoulder at me, then laughed.
Of course not.
Wait, what?
I'll do it. I'm more suited to working in the cold than you anyways.
Oi, that's a bit rude. Mark shrugged.
Sit and talk with me. I'd like that. I think that'd be nice.
Okay.
Immediately forgets about being upset.
I started off trying to ask him questions, but his replies were so short nothing came of it. Instead, I started telling him the differences between the grim and parole versions of popular fairy tales. I'd had to do a report on it in high school once, and it seemed like a good way to entertain him. He smiled as he listened right up until he finished.
Nice. Likes to play his cards close to the chest. Okay. We'll let her handle that. Nope. I'm gonna sleep. Oh, because we helped her. I'm like, why are we getting this? You're fine. Yeah, just, yeah, whatever, Peggy. Oh, good. Ooh. Ooh. New things.
When I came across Mark that day, he was nose deep in Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Good book? He jumped violently, the book flying nearly a foot out of his hands.
I'm not reading anything.
What? There's a book right there. You're holding it right in front of me.
No, it's nothing. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about something else then.
Yeah.
Mark agreed, but he was staring at the floor, trembling slightly. Is this the rose time? Are you sure you're okay? You're acting pretty weird.
Uh, um...
He leaned over to the side of his chair and picked up a rose from off the floor.
Alright, it's this again.
Where did you get that?
It's for you.
He held out the rose. His trembling was magnified by the rose stem, and it shuddered in the air, almost as if it were dancing. I took it, just to stop its movement. Thank you? My acceptance of the rose seemed to give him some confidence, because he stood up and then kneeled below me. What are you doing? What's happening here? He cleared his throat, then held out his hand as if delivering a monologue to Yorick's skull.
My dearest Flynn, the star of my eyes.
Oh God.
You are the sun in my sky, the skip in my step, the peanut butter to my jelly. You are a cinnamon candle in winter.
Mark. It wasn't as much of a surprise as I thought it should have been. The idea that he liked me, anyway. The poetic language, that was a surprise.
You are what gets me up in the morning and what keeps me going. You have been overtaking my mind as of late. You have possessed me, body and soul.
I forgot he quoted from Pride and Prejudice.
He swallowed again and glanced wildly around the room. After a moment of awkward silence, I realized he'd forgotten what he was going to say. A blush spread across his cheeks. It was sorta cute.
All in all, you have no idea how much you mean to me, and I would very much like to date you and try to make you as happy as you have unknowingly made me.
He nodded firmly, and finally looked at me, marking the end to his speech. Wait, I had to respond. Please stand up. I feel weird talking to you when you're kneeling.
Oh, sorry.
He stood and we looked at each other in an uncomfortable silence.
That was very strange, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I've never really thought about this.
It's okay.
I'd always treated Mark as a friend, nothing more. To be honest, we hadn't really had all that much of a connection. Hardly more than a few regular conversations. Nothing seemed to mark him as obviously interested in me before today, yet here we were. Maybe this was just the way he was. But it was too sudden for me to know conclusively whether I wanted to date him, especially in any sort of exclusive way. How should I respond?
Maybe?
I haven't really thought of you in that way before. I don't want to turn you down flat, though. Maybe if we took some more time to think about it.
Yes!
I flinched.
That was more successful than I expected. So, does that mean that you'll let me pursue you? Give you chocolates and tell you how great you are and stuff?
Sure. I mean, if you really want to.
I really want to! Awesome! Sweet! Now I get to show you how much I appreciate you.
Who was this? This man who possessed no guile. How could he be so straightforward about things?
Expect to see more of me in the future.
Okay?
Oh, but I have a test to study for, so... Can you leave me alone for now?
Sure. I'm sure I could use the time away even more than he could.
Perfect. Thank you so much. You're the best.
I nodded curtly and he collapsed back into his chair, a happy smile on his face. I left the library, the cool English air helping to clear my mind. So, that just happened. I guess if that's what he wants to do, I shouldn't stop him. We'll just see where it goes. If it goes anywhere at all. Mind racing, I returned to the hostel and put the rose in a glass in my room. What now? What did Mark even do for fun other than read? Well, that might be something for me to find out.
I still love that confession. So amazing.
Alright. Oops. Sorry, Mark. There we go. I hadn't heard much from Mark since we decided that we were possibly dating. No, dating sounded too strong. Possibly going to go out. Sometime. Just to see what happened. Really, it was all very confusing. I knocked on his door cautiously. Mark, are you there?
What is it? Oh, Flynn! Hello. Do you need something?
I was hoping to talk to you, really.
Yes. We are talking.
He was so enthusiastic the other day, and yet he hadn't done anything since then. Are you going anywhere for spring break? I knew a few people in the hostel were going home to see their families for the break. I couldn't, though. A ticket to New York would cost too much.
No, I do not wish to travel. My paper needs more time.
Oh, you're working on a big school project? His eyes lit up and he began to describe some sort of complicated relationship between battle strategies and library organization structures, which didn't really make any sense to me. Yeah, that's great. I was just wondering if you wanted to do anything together this week.
Oh.
Suddenly his shoulders drooped, and his eyes went from starry to shimmering with sadness all in one swoop.
I am sorry, Flynn. I cannot. I have promised myself to this project.
We are supposed to be on a break from schoolwork.
It is an obligation. Society cannot function if no one upholds their obligations. There will be time to be social in a few weeks. If we live that long.
What?
There are no guarantees in life, are there? I can promise that I will take you on an outing, but even if I intend to follow my obligation, I might be hit by a car. It's something we have to accept. I promise that if I am alive and able, I will go somewhere with you this month.
Thanks, I guess. He really is weird.
Just go with the flow, Flynn. It's fine. Let's read. Why not? Uh-oh. What's this?
Why, I could visit the British Library and immerse myself in works of great literature. Or I could find the nearest booksellers and check out some stories of men saving the world with muscles and guns. A book was a book, after all.
I think that was like a young adult romance thing with Malia? Or a romance novel, anyway. Can't remember for sure. Okay, those guys are doing their thing. There you are.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Can you stop bouncing like that? Operas are supposed to be kind of fancy. You're gonna draw attention to yourself. The day of my outing with Mark had arrived, but it wasn't going exactly like I had expected.
But I am very excited. I have never seen an opera before.
Really? But this was your idea.
Yes, I wish to do something new. Isn't that wonderful?
I guess so. It's new for me, too. I've never seen an opera. I thought maybe I should broaden my horizons.
Yes, yes, you understand.
He grabbed my hand and pumped it vigorously. I guess it's good that we can share something together for our first date.
Date? This is not a date.
It isn't?
No, no, this is the opera. I want to focus completely on the experience.
Then why was I even here?
And afterwards we can discuss the story.
Yeah, I guess. We handed our tickets to the usher, who told us to head up to the balcony level.
Oh my goodness, we're almost there.
Careful, or you'll bounce right over the edge. He just grinned at me. It was cute seeing him so happy, but it was confusing at the same time. Eventually, the show began. To be honest, I couldn't really understand much of what was being said, but it looked like a tragedy. quarrels over love, a childhood friend turned lover, or something like that. I couldn't help watching Mark as much as I watched the show. His exaggerated expressions of delight, sympathy, and anger were more entertaining to me than the opera was.
Thank you so much! I'm so happy that we got to go. Did you notice that part where...
He went on like that for ages, extolling the virtues of the libretto, the staging, the performer's vocal ranges, and so on. Often details that I really hadn't noticed and wouldn't have cared about. I'd like to say that his enthusiasm was infectious, but honestly, I still didn't really care that much. It was a show, and it was okay. That was all. I was generally glad that I had gone, but I still didn't entirely understand why Mark had wanted to go with me. It seemed like anyone would have done.
It'll be made clear one day, Flynn.